I had to come over and tell you, look incredible out here. The moment Sophia's hips started moving to the beat, every man in Club Crimson forgot how to breathe. But only one man forgot how to think. His name was Viktor Petrov, and in exactly 4 minutes and 37 seconds, he was going to make a decision that would destroy both their lives in the most beautiful way possible. But let me back up because you need to understand something. Sofia Martinez wasn't supposed to be in Prague at all. She wasn't supposed to be in that club, and she definitely wasn't supposed to catch the attention of the most dangerous man in the Czech Republic. But sometimes fate doesn't care about what's supposed to happen. Sometimes fate just wants to watch the world burn. If you're ready for a story so intense it'll make you forget your own name, so addictive you'll be reading at 3 a.m. with your phone at 1% battery, so passionate it'll ruin every other romance story for you, then buckle up. Subscribe right now because what you're about to read will change how you think about obsession, desire, and the thin line between salvation and destruction. And I'm not being dramatic. Not even a little bit. Let's begin. Sofia Martinez was 20 years old, broke as hell, and currently making the worst decision of her life, or the best one. She honestly couldn't tell yet. 6 months ago, she'd been a dance major at Spelman College with a 3.8 GPA and a future so bright it hurt to look at directly. Then her mom got sick. Stage 4 breast cancer. The kind that turns medical bills into mortgage payments and makes you realize that health insurance is basically a scam designed to bankrupt normal people. Sofia had dropped out in her junior year, moved back to Atlanta, worked 3 jobs, waitressing at Waffle House, teaching kids dance classes at the YMCA, and doing hair on weekends. Every penny went to her mom's treatment. Every single one. And it worked. Her mom beat cancer. Against all odds, against every statistic, Carmen Martinez was in remission. But Sofia was still broke, still no degree, still working herself to exhaustion just to keep from drowning in the debt they'd accumulated. Then her best friend Maya called with the most insane opportunity Sofia had ever heard. Girl, there's this international dance competition in Prague. First place is $50,000. Sofia had laughed. Actually laughed. Maya, I don't have money for groceries. How am I supposed to get to Prague? The competition pays for everything. Flight, hotel, meals. You just have to submit an audition video, and if you get selected, you're in. Sofia had submitted the video on a whim. A 3-minute routine she'd choreographed in her mom's living room, dancing to a mix of Afro beats and contemporary. She'd worn leggings and a sports bra because they were clean, and she hadn't had time to find anything else. Her natural hair was in a high puff. She wasn't wearing makeup. She looked exactly like what she was, a tired 20-year-old trying to find joy in the only thing that still made sense. She got selected. 2 weeks later, Sofia was on a plane to Prague with a suitcase full of borrowed clothes and a heart full of hope that felt dangerous. The competition was everything she'd dreamed of. Dancers from 20 different countries, choreographers whose work she'd studied for years. And the performances, God, the performances were incredible. Sofia made it to the finals. She didn't win. Came in 4th place actually, but she danced her heart out and left everything on that stage. No regrets. The night after the competition ended, Maya, who'd flown out for the finals, dragged Sofia to Club Crimson in Old Town. We're celebrating, Maya said, already pulling Sofia toward the entrance. You just competed internationally. You placed 4th out of 300 dancers. We're getting drunk and dancing until our feet fall off. Sofia laughed. Maya, I can't afford club drinks in Prague. Girl, I saw the prices. We're having exactly 2 drinks and dancing like we're rich. Come on. So Sofia went. She was wearing a black dress Maya had lent her. Tight, short, cut low enough to be interesting, but not so low it was desperate. Her natural hair was out, styled in a twist out that framed her face perfectly. Her dark skin was glowing under the club lights. And for the first time in 6 months, Sofia felt young, felt beautiful, felt like maybe, just maybe, her life wasn't completely falling apart. The DJ was playing an Afro Beats remix that made Sofia's body move before her brain could catch up. She grabbed Maya's hand and pulled her onto the dance floor, and Sofia danced. She danced like she hadn't just spent 6 months watching her mother almost die. Danced like she wasn't drowning in debt. Danced like she was still that girl who'd believed her talent would be enough to change her life. Her hips rolled to the beat. Her waist moved in ways that made physics look like a suggestion. Her whole body was a conversation with the music, fluid and fierce, and absolutely fearless. She had no idea that 3 floors above her, a man who controlled half of Prague's criminal empire was watching her on a security monitor and making a decision that would change everything. Viktor Petrov hadn't felt anything in so long, he'd almost forgotten what it was like. Almost. At 30 years old, he'd seen everything, done everything, owned everything. His father's empire had been built on fear and violence. Viktor had inherited that empire at 20 and transformed it into something more efficient, more profitable, more terrifying. He didn't just control Prague's underworld. He controlled the people who thought they controlled it. Politicians, judges, police chiefs. They all had his money in their accounts and his secrets in their closets. Viktor was rich beyond comprehension, powerful beyond measure, and empty in a way that no amount of money or control could fill. He'd stopped feeling things years ago, stopped wanting things. Want was weakness, his father had said. Weakness got you killed. So Viktor had built walls, fortress walls, so high and thick that nothing got in. Not love, not hope, not desire, nothing until tonight. He was in Club Crimson's owner's suite, a private space that overlooked the entire club through one-way glass and security monitors. He owned the club, of course, owned most of the clubs in Old Town, owned most of everything that mattered in Prague. He'd come tonight because Dmitri, his head of security, had mentioned the International Dance Festival was wrapping up. Foreign dancers would be celebrating at various clubs. Viktor had been curious, nothing more. He was watching the monitors with the kind of bored detachment he brought to everything when he saw her. A black woman, young, early 20s, probably dancing in the center of the floor like she'd been born doing it. Natural hair catching the lights, dark skin glowing, body moving in ways that made his mouth go completely dry. But it wasn't just her body. It was the way she moved, confident, joyful, completely unaware that every person around her had stopped dancing just to watch. She was dancing for herself, for the music, for the pure joy of existing in her body. And something in Viktor's chest cracked open. For the first time in 10 years, Viktor Petrov wanted something. No, needed something. He needed to know who she was. Needed to hear her voice. Needed to touch her skin and find out if it was as soft as it looked under those lights. Needed to know if that joy she was radiating was real or just very good acting. Dmitri Viktor's voice came out rougher than he'd intended. His head of security appeared immediately. Yes, boss. The woman on monitor 4 dancing, natural hair, black dress. Find out everything about her. Name, where she's from, why she's in Prague, where she's staying, everything. Dmitri pulled out his phone, already making calls right away. But Viktor wasn't patient enough to wait. He stood up, straightened his suit jacket, and headed for the stairs. He was going down there. He was going to meet her, and God help both of them, because when Viktor Petrov wanted something, he took it no matter the cost. Sofia was mid-spin when she felt it. That weird prickle on the back of her neck that meant someone was watching. Not the casual watching that happened in clubs. The intense kind, the predatory kind. She turned, and her breath stopped. The finest man she'd ever seen in her entire life was walking directly toward her through a crowd that was parting like the Red Sea. He was tall, maybe 6 feet, Eastern European with perfect bone structure that looked like it had been carved by someone who understood exactly what women wanted to look at. Sharp jaw, high cheekbones, eyes so dark and intense they didn't look real. Black hair styled back from his face. And he was wearing a suit that probably cost more than her mom's medical bills. The kind of suit that said, I'm rich, I'm powerful, and I'm very aware of both those facts. Everything about him screamed danger. But not the runaway kind of danger. The run toward kind. The kind that makes your stomach flip and your brain stop working. He stopped directly in front of Sofia, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. You danced beautifully. His English was perfect. Just the slightest hint of an accent that made every word sound more interesting. Sofia's heart was doing something weird. Thank you. What's your name? Sofia. Martinez. He said it slowly like he was tasting it. I'm Viktor. Can I buy you a drink? Every instinct Sofia had screamed, warning. This man was too smooth, too confident, too everything. Men who looked like that and moved like that didn't buy girls like her drinks just to be nice. But Sofia had spent 6 months being responsible, being careful, being boring. Tonight she wanted to be reckless. His smile was small but devastating. Follow me. He led her through the club, and Sophia noticed something weird. People moved out of his way. Not like they were being polite, like they were scared. Actually scared. Who the hell was this guy? They went up a set of stairs Sophia hadn't even known existed, past a security guard who nodded at Victor like he was seeing royalty, and into a private suite that overlooked the entire club. The space was insane. Floor-to-ceiling windows, leather furniture that looked soft enough to sleep on, a full bar, artwork on the walls that Sophia was pretty sure belonged in museums. Holy shit, Sophia breathed. You own this place. I own many places. Victor walked to the bar and poured 2 glasses of something amber that came from a crystal decanter. But yes, this club is mine. He handed her a glass. Their fingers brushed, and Sophia felt electricity shoot straight up her arm. So what do you do? Sophia asked, taking a sip. The liquor was smooth and expensive and definitely not something she could afford. Import and export very boring business things. Liar, Sophia thought. But she didn't push it. They talked about her competition, her dancing, her mom's cancer, her dreams of finishing her degree, about Prague and Atlanta, and what it was like being far from home. Victor was an incredible listener. He watched her like every word she said mattered. Like she was the most interesting person he'd ever met. And Sophia, who'd spent 6 months feeling invisible, under the weight of bills and responsibility and exhaustion, felt seen. Really seen. How long are you in Prague? Victor asked at some point. I leave in 3 days. Something flickered across his face. Something dark. 3 days isn't enough. For what? To know you. He moved closer. Close enough that Sophia could smell his cologne. Expensive. Intoxicating. To understand why watching you dance made me feel something I haven't felt in 10 years. Sophia's brain was screaming red flag, but her body wasn't listening. What did you feel? The question came out brighter than she'd intended. His hand lifted, fingers brushing her cheek so softly it barely counted as touch. You made me feel alive, Sophia Martinez. And I don't think 3 days will be nearly enough time to explore what that means. She should leave. Should grab Maya and get the hell out of this club and away from this man who looked at her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. I should get back to my friend, Sophia said, standing up even though every part of her wanted to stay. Victor stood too, pulled a black business card from his pocket. Have dinner with me tomorrow night. I don't know if that's a good idea. Why not? Because you're either a criminal or a psychopath, and I'm not sure which one scares me more. He smiled. Actually smiled. And it transformed his entire face from intimidating to almost boyish. What if I'm both? Then I should definitely run. But you won't. He pressed the card into her hand. Because you felt it, too. When we touched, when I looked at you, felt exactly what I felt. He was right. God help her. Call me Sophia. Please. The please at the end softened everything just enough that Sophia took the card. She found Maya at the bar looking worried. Girl, where have you been? I was about to send out a search party. I met someone. His name is Victor. He owns this place. Maya's eyes went wide. Owns this place. Like the whole club. And he wants to have dinner with me tomorrow. Maya grabbed Sophia's arm and pulled her toward the exit. We need to leave right now. Because I was asking the bartender about the VIP section, and when I mentioned the owner, he literally went pale. Sophia, I think you just had drinks with a gangster. Sophia's stomach dropped. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that everyone in this club is terrified of him. I'm talking about the fact that the bartender looked at me like I just signed my death warrant by asking questions. Sophia, that man is dangerous. They got back to their hotel, and Sophia couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Victor's eyes, his touch, the way he'd looked at her like she was something precious. The next morning, there was a knock on her door. A hotel employee stood there holding the biggest bouquet of white roses Sophia had ever seen. The card said, dinner tonight at 8. My driver will pick you up at 7:45. Wear something that makes you feel as beautiful as you look dancing. There was also a garment bag. Inside was a dress. Red designer. Definitely cost more than Sophia made in 3 months. And it was exactly her size. How did he know her size? Her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Sophia. Victor's voice made her knees weak even through the phone. Did you get my gift? How did you know my size? How did you know what hotel I'm staying at? I wanted to make sure tonight would be perfect. That's not an answer. I know. Say yes, Sophia. Let me show you what your life could be like. Every logical part of Sophia's brain screamed, no. This man had somehow found out where she was staying and what size she wore. That wasn't romantic. That was terrifying. But there was another part of her. A part that had been buried under responsibility and exhaustion and fear. A part that whispered, when was the last time someone wanted you this badly? Okay. Sophia heard herself say, I'll have dinner with you. You won't regret it. I promise you, Sophia Martinez, you won't regret it. He hung up. Sophia stared at the phone. Then she looked out the window. 3 black SUVs were parked outside the hotel, just sitting there waiting. Sophia's hands started shaking. What the hell had she just agreed to? Maya came to Sophia's room within minutes of being summoned. Those weren't there last night, Maya said, staring at the SUVs. I know. Sophia, you need to cancel that dinner. And say what? Sorry, the fact that you're stalking me is a turnoff. Sophia sat on the bed. Maya, what if he gets angry? What if he gets obsessed? Maya shot back. Girl, this is how horror movies start. Sophia's phone rang again. She answered with shaking hands. Those men outside your hotel are for your protection, not to scare you. His voice was calm. Too calm. I made a mistake last night by being seen with you so publicly. Now certain people know you're important to me. Those men will keep you safe until you leave Prague. Important to you. We just met. But Sophia, I've never felt like this before. And I need you to understand that in my world, when something matters to me, I protect it. You matter to me. What world? What do you do, Victor? Long silence. Have dinner with me tonight, and I'll tell you everything. Complete honesty. No more secrets. Sophia should hang up. Should pack her bags and catch the earliest flight home. 7:45, she said instead. But I want the truth. All of it. You'll have it. I promise. After he hung up, Maya looked at Sophia like she'd lost her mind. You're actually going. I have to know, Sophia said. I have to know what this is. That night, Sophia put on the red dress. It fit like it had been made specifically for her body. Hugged her curves perfectly. The color made her dark skin look luminous. She did her makeup carefully, put on the only nice jewelry she owned, small gold hoops her mom had given her. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked expensive, desired, dangerous. At 7:44, her phone buzzed. My driver is downstairs. Sophia grabbed her purse, kissed Maya's cheek, and whispered, if I'm not back by midnight, call the police. Girl, I'm calling the police at 12:01. The driver was waiting by a black Mercedes that probably cost more than Sophia's house. He opened the door without speaking. The address led to a restaurant in a part of Prague that looked like money had its own zip code. When they arrived, Victor was standing outside waiting. He was wearing a black suit that fit him so perfectly it had to be custom. When he saw Sophia, his whole face changed, softened. You're stunning, he said, opening her car door. You said you'd tell me the truth. I will, but first, let me look at you for one more second before everything changes. He offered his hand. Sophia took it. The restaurant was empty. Completely empty. Where is everyone? Sophia asked. I reserved the entire place. I wanted privacy for what I need to tell you. They sat at a table by the window overlooking Prague's skyline. The food was incredible, but Sophia could barely taste it. She was too focused on Victor, who kept watching her with those intense eyes. You said you'd tell me the truth, Sophia finally said. So tell me, what do you do? Victor sat down his fork and looked directly at her. I run the largest criminal organization in Prague. Drugs, weapons, money laundering, protection. If it's illegal and profitable, I control it. Sophia's heart stopped. You're a gangster. I prefer the term businessman, but yes, I'm what you would call a mafia boss. Should run. Should I've killed people, Sophia? His voice didn't change. Not many, but enough. I've ordered deaths. I've destroyed lives. I'm not a good man. Then why are you telling me this? Because I need you to know exactly who I am before you decide. He reached across the table and took her hand. I'm 30 years old, and I've never believed in love. I thought it was weakness, but then I saw you dancing, and something in me broke open. I can't explain it. All I know is that I need you in my life, Sophia. And I won't lie to you about who I am to get that. Sophia's mind was spinning. This is crazy. You're a criminal. I'm a dance major with student loans. This doesn't make sense. Love never makes sense. You don't love me. You don't even know me. Then let me know you. His grip on her hand tightened. Stay in Prague. Get to know me. Let me prove that I can be what you need. I can't just abandon my life. What's waiting for you back home? Victor leaned closer. A city that doesn't appreciate your talent. Student loans you can't pay. Working 3 jobs just to survive. Sophia, I can give you everything you've ever wanted. All you have to do is say yes. How did he know about her 3 jobs? Her student loans. You investigated me, Sophia said slowly. You had someone dig into my entire life. Yes, that's insane. That's survival. I don't take risks with things that matter. Sophia pulled her hand away and stood up. I need air. She walked out to the balcony, and Victor followed. The Prague skyline sparkled in front of them, beautiful and overwhelming. I'm scared, Sophia admitted. You scare me. Good. Victor came up behind her, close but not touching. You should be scared of me, but I will never hurt you. I'd burn this entire city down before I let anyone hurt you. Why me? Why not someone who fits into your world? Because you're real. His voice got rough. Everyone in my world is fake. They want my money, my power, my protection. But you looked at me like I was just a man. Not a monster, just a man. Do you know how rare that is? Sophia turned to face him, and the look in his eyes almost broke her heart. He looked lonely, desperately, achingly lonely. I can't stay in Prague, she said softly. But I don't want to never see you again either. Then don't leave. Victor cupped her face. Give me 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks to prove that this is real. If after 2 weeks you want to go home, I'll put you on a plane myself. But please, Sophia, give us a chance. She was about to answer when her phone rang. Maya, I need to take this, Sophia said, stepping away. Maya was crying. You need to get out of there right now. I've been researching him all day. Sophia, he's not just a gangster. He's wanted by Interpol. There are rumors he's killed over 30 people personally, and there's a whole dark web forum about him where people talk about what happens to women who get involved with him. Sophia felt sick. 3 years ago, Maya continued, a woman dated him for 2 months. When she tried to leave, she disappeared. They never found her body. Sophia, people who get involved with him don't just walk away, they vanish. Sophia's hand was shaking so hard, she almost dropped the phone. I have to go. She ended the call and turned to find Victor standing there, having heard everything. Is it true? Sophia's voice was barely a whisper. Did you kill a woman who tried to leave you? Victor's expression went cold. No, but I know who did, and I made sure they suffered for it. She wasn't mine, but she died in my territory, so I took responsibility. The answer is I've killed people who deserved it. Traffickers, rapists, men who hurt women. His eyes were black ice. But I have never and will never hurt a woman, especially not one I care about. How do I know you're telling the truth? You don't. Victor took a step closer. You have to trust me, and I know that's asking the impossible. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the building. Glass shattered. Alarms started screaming. Victor grabbed Sophia and pulled her down just as bullets tore through the space where they'd been standing. What's happening? Sophia screamed. My enemies just made a big mistake. Victor pulled out a gun from under his jacket. Stay down. Men in black tactical gear burst onto the balcony, and Victor moved like violence personified. Sophia watched in horror as he shot 3 men in seconds. Precise, efficient, terrifying. More men poured in. Victor was shouting in check into his phone. More gunfire, more screaming. Then everything went quiet. Victor grabbed Sophia's hand. We need to go now? They ran through the restaurant, past bodies Sophia tried not to look at, and out to the street where dozens of black SUVs were screeching to a stop. Get in. Victor shoved Sophia into the middle vehicle. What about you? I'll be right behind you. I need to make sure they don't follow. Victor, but he was already gone, running back toward the building with his gun raised. The SUV took off with Sophia screaming for them to go back. They drove for what felt like hours, taking turns so fast Sophia felt sick, until finally they arrived at a massive compound surrounded by walls and armed guards. A man opened her door. Miss Martinez, please come with me. You'll be safe here. Where's Victor? The boss will be here soon. But an hour passed, then 2, then 4. Sophia sat in a luxurious room that felt like a prison, staring at her phone, jumping at every sound. Finally, at 2 a.m., her phone rang. A voice she didn't recognize spoke in accented English. Miss Martinez, my name is Alexei Volkov. I'm the head of the Iron Wolf Syndicate, and I'm currently looking at your boyfriend, Victor, who has a gun pointed at his head. Sophia's entire world stopped. He's alive for now, but that depends entirely on what you do next. What do you want? You? Miss Martinez, in exchange for him. You see, we've been watching. We know you're important to him, and we're willing to make a trade. You turn yourself over to us, and we let Victor live. You have until sunrise to decide. That's 4 hours from now. The man laughed. It was a sound that made Sophia's blood run cold. Choose wisely, because if you don't come, we'll send Victor back to you in pieces. The line went dead. Sophia stared at the phone in absolute horror. Outside, she heard vehicles pulling up, dozens of them. She ran to the window and almost fainted. 50 black SUVs were pulling into the compound, surrounding it completely. Victor's men were scrambling, grabbing weapons, shouting orders. Sophia's phone buzzed with a text from the unknown number. Look outside. That's our army. You have 4 hours. Come to us, or everyone in that compound dies, including Victor. A photo came through. Victor, bloodied and tied to a chair, unconscious. Sophia's hands were shaking so hard she could barely hold the phone. She'd known him for 2 days, 48 hours. And now she had to decide if his life was worth more than her own. She thought about her mom, about Maya, about the life she'd left behind in Atlanta. She thought about Victor's eyes when he'd told her she made him feel alive. She thought about the way he'd looked at her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. Sophia picked up her phone and typed a message to Maya. If something happens to me, tell my mom I love her. Tell her I finally did something that mattered. Then she walked to the door, opened it, and told the guard standing there, take me to Alexei Volkov. I'm ready to make the trade. The guard stared at her like she'd lost her mind. Miss Martinez, the boss gave strict orders. I don't care about his orders. That's his life or mine, and I'm choosing his. Maybe it was stupid. Maybe it was the dumbest decision she'd ever made. Maybe she'd known him for 2 days, and that wasn't enough time to fall in love with someone. But Sophia had spent 20 years playing it safe, being responsible, doing what she was supposed to do. And where had it gotten her? Broke, exhausted, barely surviving. For once in her life, Sophia wanted to do something reckless, something insane, something that mattered, even if it killed her. The guard made a phone call, spoke rapidly in Czech, then looked at Sophia with something that might have been respect. The car is ready, Miss Martinez. Are you sure about this? Sophia thought about Victor's smile, the way his hand had felt against her cheek, the way he'd said her name like it was a prayer. I'm sure she got in the car. And as they drove toward whatever hell was waiting for her, Sophia realized something. She'd come to Prague looking for $50,000 and a chance to restart her life. Instead, she'd found something worth more than money. She'd found someone worth dying for. Whether that made her brave or stupid, she'd find out soon enough. The car drove into the night, and Sophia didn't look back. What happens next will break your heart and put it back together in ways you can't imagine. Subscribe right now and turn on notifications, because part 2 is going to destroy you. Will Sophia survive? Will Victor save her in time? Or is this a love story that ends in tragedy? Comment below. Should Sophia have saved herself or saved him? What would you have done? Because I need to know if you're ready for what comes next. Trust me, you're not. Nobody ever is. The warehouse smelled like death and motor oil. Sophia could taste blood in her mouth from where they'd hit her during the transfer. Her hands were zip-tied behind a metal chair in what looked like an abandoned factory on the outskirts of Prague. Alexei Volkov stood in front of her, and she understood immediately why Victor had built such high walls around his heart. Some men were born monsters. This was one of them. He was tall, lean, with the kind of pale eyes that looked through you instead of at you. When he smiled, it was the smile of something that had forgotten how to be human a long time ago. Behind him stood 6 men with guns, all watching her like she was prey that hadn't figured out it was already dead. Welcome to my humble operation, Miss Martinez. Alexei's English was perfect but cold. I do hope the ride wasn't too uncomfortable. His tone suggested he hoped the exact opposite. You're probably wondering why you're still breathing. That's because your boyfriend is more resourceful than I anticipated. The trade didn't go quite as smoothly as planned. Sophia's heart jumped. Victor was alive. He was fighting. That meant there was still hope, even if she couldn't see it from where she was sitting. Where is he? Sophia demanded, surprised by how steady her voice sounded. Alexei laughed. Still making demands. I like that. Victor always did have excellent taste in women. He pulled up a chair and sat directly in front of her, close enough that she could smell his expensive cologne mixed with something that might have been gunpowder. Your precious Mafia prince is currently bleeding out in a building about 2 miles from here. My men put 3 bullets in him before he managed to kill 8 of mine and disappear into Prague's lovely sewer system. Sophia felt sick. 3 bullets. How long could someone survive that? But here's the beautiful part, Alexei continued. He's going to come for you. Even bleeding to death, even knowing it's a trap, Viktor Petrov will come for you because he's stupid enough to think one woman is worth dying for. And when he does, I'll finish what I started tonight. Why do you hate him so much? Sophia asked. This isn't just business. This is personal. Alexei's expression darkened. 5 years ago, Viktor killed my brother. Not in a war, not in business. He executed him like a dog in the street because Dmitri had the audacity to touch something Viktor considered his. A woman, of course. It's always a woman with the Petrov family. Sophia's blood turned to ice. He killed your brother over a woman. Not just any woman. Viktor's sister. Dmitri was having an affair with her, and when Viktor found out, he didn't just kill my brother. He tortured him first. Made him beg. Made him scream. Then he put a bullet in his brain and sent me the video. The room went deadly quiet. Sophia could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. So you see, Miss Martinez, this isn't about territory or money or power. This is about showing Viktor Petrov that everyone he loves dies screaming. Starting with you. Alexei stood up and walked to a table covered with tools that Sophia tried very hard not to look at directly. But we have some time before he arrives. He's injured, after all. Probably trying to patch himself up, gather what's left of his men. That gives us perhaps 2 hours to get acquainted. He picked up something that looked like a knife, but with a curved blade. Sophia had never seen anything like it before and hoped she never would again. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time, Alexei said, turning the blade in the light. Viktor took everything from me. My brother, my respect, my standing in our world. Tonight, I take everything from him. Before Sophia could respond, one of the guards spoke rapidly in what sounded like Russian. Alexei's face changed, the predatory smile replaced by something that looked almost like concern. What do you mean, gone? He snapped in English. How do you lose 50 men? The guard continued speaking, and Sophia watched Alexei's expression shift from annoyance to anger to something that might have been fear. He's not coming here, Alexei said slowly, as if he couldn't believe his own words. He's not coming to save you at all. Sophia felt her heart sink. Viktor had abandoned her. He decided she wasn't worth dying for after all. She was going to die in this warehouse, alone, and the last 2 days of her life would remain the most beautiful and terrible thing that ever happened to her. But then Alexei started laughing. Actually laughing, and the sound was worse than anything that had come before. Oh, this is so much better, he said. Do you know what your boyfriend is doing instead of mounting a rescue operation, Miss Martinez? He's systematically destroying every business I own in Prague. In the last hour, he's bombed 3 of my warehouses, killed 30 of my men, and liberated approximately $2 million worth of merchandise. He's not trying to save you. He's trying to hurt me so badly that I'll make a mistake. Sophia didn't understand. That doesn't make sense. If he cared about me, wouldn't he try to rescue me? You sweet, naive girl. Alexei walked back over to her. Viktor Petrov doesn't save people. He destroys the people who threaten what's his. He's turning this into a war, and wars require sacrifice. You're the sacrifice. The words hit Sophia like a physical blow. She'd been so stupid. So desperately stupid. She'd known Viktor for 2 days and convinced herself it was love when it was probably just obsession. She'd traded her life for a man who saw her as a useful tool in a larger game. But then the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. Alarms started screaming. Alexei was shouting orders in Russian, and his men were running in different directions, confusion and panic replacing the calm control they'd maintained. And then Sophia heard it. Gunfire. Lots of it. Getting closer. Viktor hadn't abandoned her. He'd just taken a different approach. The warehouse doors exploded inward. Smoke filled the space. Through the chaos, Sophia could see muzzle flashes and moving shadows, but she couldn't tell who was who or what was happening. Someone grabbed her chair from behind and started dragging her toward what looked like a back exit. She twisted around and saw one of Alexei's men, bleeding from a head wound, trying to get her out of the line of fire. Then the man's head exploded. Sophia screamed and fell backward, still attached to the chair. When she looked up, Victor was standing over her, and he looked like death walking. His suit was torn and bloody. His face was pale. There was a bandage around his left arm that was completely soaked through with red. But his eyes were the same intense dark pools that had made her forget how to breathe in Club Crimson. "Are you hurt?" he asked, kneeling down to cut her restraints with a knife that looked like it had seen recent use. "I thought you weren't coming," Sophia whispered. "I thought you decided I wasn't worth it." Victor's hands stilled on the zip ties. He looked at her with an expression she couldn't read. "Sophia," he said quietly, "I just declared war on the most powerful criminal organization in Eastern Europe. For you. I've burned half of Prague to the ground tonight. For you. I walked into this warehouse with 3 bullets in my chest because the thought of that monster touching you made me lose my mind completely." The zip ties snapped. Sophia's hands were free. "So no," Victor continued, pulling her to her feet. "You are not worth it. You are worth everything." Before Sophia could respond, Victor was kissing her. Right there in the middle of a war zone, surrounded by dead bodies and the smell of gunpowder, he was kissing her like she was air and he'd been drowning for 10 years. And despite everything, despite the horror and fear and violence, Sophia kissed him back because she finally understood something important. This wasn't a fairy tale. This wasn't a romance novel where the dangerous man turned out to have a heart of gold underneath. Viktor Petrov was exactly what he appeared to be: a killer, a criminal, a man who solved problems with violence and controlled people through fear. But he was also a man who had just started a war to keep her safe. And that had to count for something. "We need to go," Victor said against her lips. "My men have cleared a path, but Alexei is still here somewhere, and this place is going to be crawling with police soon." "What about Alexei?" Sophia asked as Victor led her toward the exit. "What happens to him?" Victor's smile was sharp enough to cut glass. "That's not your concern anymore." They made it outside, where 3 black SUVs were waiting with engines running. Dmitri was standing beside the lead vehicle, also bloody but alive. He opened the door as they approached. "Boss, we need to move. Police are 5 minutes out." Victor helped Sophia into the back seat, then slid in beside her. As the SUV pulled away from the warehouse, Sophia could see flames in the distance. Prague was burning, and it was burning for her. "I can't go back to my hotel," Sophia said suddenly. "Maya, what if they hurt Maya?" "Already handled," Victor replied. "Your friend is safe. She's been moved to a secure location with security detail. She'll be returned to Atlanta tomorrow with a cover story about a family emergency that required her to leave Prague immediately." "How do you know she'll be safe?" "Because anyone who hurts someone you care about will die slowly." Victor said it matter-of-factly. "This is my world now, Sophia. These are the rules. You can choose to be part of it, or I can put you on a plane home. But you need to understand that either way, you belong to me now." The words should have terrified her. A week ago, they would have sent her running. But sitting in the back of an SUV speeding through Prague while the city burned around them, all Sophia felt was a strange sense of coming home. "I can't go back to Atlanta," she said quietly. "Not anymore. Not after tonight." Victor took her hand. "Are you sure? Once you cross this line, Sophia, there's no going back. My world doesn't have room for innocence." Sophia thought about her mother, about her student loans, about the 3 jobs, and the exhaustion and the endless cycle of just barely surviving. Then she thought about the way Victor had looked at her in Club Crimson, the way he'd kissed her in the warehouse, the way he'd burned down half of Prague because someone threatened her. "I'm already across the line," she said. "I crossed it the moment I got in the car tonight." Victor's grip on her hand tightened. "Then welcome to hell, Sophia Martinez. I promise you won't be bored." The SUV drove through the night toward whatever came next, and for the first time in her life, Sophia wasn't afraid of the future. She was ready to burn the world down with the man who'd shown her that sometimes the most dangerous choice was also the only one worth making. 6 months later, Sophia stood in the office of what used to be Alexei Volkov's penthouse, looking out over Prague as the sun set behind the castle. The space had been completely renovated, transformed from a monument to old-world brutality into something that felt like power wrapped in silk. She was wearing a black dress that cost more than she used to make in 6 months. Her hair was styled in a way that took 2 hours every morning, and her engagement ring was so large it required its own security detail. But the biggest change wasn't what she wore or how she looked. The biggest change was in her eyes. Where there had once been hope and innocence and the kind of joy that came from believing the world was fundamentally good, there was now something else. Something colder. Something that had learned to smile while making threats and to look beautiful while being dangerous. Victor walked up behind her and slipped his arms around her waist. The scar from where Alexei's bullets had torn through his chest was still visible when he was shirtless, but it had healed into something that somehow made him even more attractive. "The Martinez Dance Academy is officially open," he said, pressing a kiss to her neck. 15 locations across Prague, scholarship programs for underprivileged children, and a staff of 20 former professional dancers. All completely legitimate business, as far as anyone needs to know. Sophia leaned back against him. "And the money laundering operation hidden in the accounting department." Victor's laugh rumbled through his chest. "That's just good business sense." They stood there in comfortable silence, looking out over the city they now controlled together. Victor's empire had grown substantially in the months since the warehouse. With Alexei dead and the Iron Wolf Syndicate absorbed into their operations, there wasn't a single illegal enterprise in Prague that didn't answer to Viktor Petrov, and by extension, to the woman who had become his partner in every sense of the word. "I got a letter from Maya today," Sophia said. "She's engaged to her college boyfriend. Spring wedding in Atlanta. Are you going?" Sophia considered this. The old Sophia would have dropped everything to be her best friend's maid of honor. The new Sophia had to weigh the risks, consider the security implications, think about whether her presence would put Maya in danger. "I think that part of my life is over," she said finally. "It's better if she thinks I died in Prague. Easier for everyone." Victor's arms tightened around her. "Do you regret it? Any of it?" Sophia thought about the question seriously. Did she regret falling in love with a man who had solved the problem of student debt by making the university's board of directors offers they couldn't refuse? Did she regret learning to fire a gun with enough accuracy to put 3 shots in a target's chest at 50 feet? Did she regret becoming the kind of woman who could smile at a dinner party while planning the destruction of everyone in the room? "No," she said, and realized she meant it. "I regret nothing." Victor spun her around to face him. His eyes were the same dark intensity that had made her forget how to breathe in Club Crimson, but now she could meet that gaze without flinching. Now she was dangerous enough to match him. "I love you, Sophia Martinez," he said. "Not the girl you were, but the woman you've become. My queen, my partner, my equal. And I love you too, Viktor Petrov. All of you, even the parts that should terrify me." He kissed her then, and Sophia kissed him back with the passion of someone who had chosen hell and found paradise instead. Outside, Prague glittered like diamonds, beautiful and ruthless and completely under their control. They had started as strangers in a nightclub. They had survived a war that should have killed them both. And they had emerged as something new, something powerful, something that the world would learn to fear and respect in equal measure. It wasn't the love story Sophia had dreamed about as a little girl. It was better. It was real. It was theirs. And if that made them monsters, well, at least they were monsters together. The Martinez Dance Academy opened every morning to the sound of children laughing and music playing. In the basement, Victor's accountants moved money through offshore accounts with the precision of a ballet. And in the penthouse office above it all, Sophia Martinez Petrov planned the next expansion of an empire built on love, violence, and the understanding that sometimes the most beautiful things grew in the darkest places. She'd come to Prague looking for $50,000 and a second chance. Instead, she'd found something worth infinitely more. She'd found a life worth living, even if it meant others had to die for her to live it. The Dance Academy was perfect cover. Nobody suspected the elegant young woman who taught underprivileged children ballet of being one of the most dangerous people in Central Europe. Nobody looked twice at the former college student who ran charity galas and smiled for photographers while her husband expanded their territory into Berlin, Vienna, and Budapest. And that was exactly how Sophia liked it. Let them underestimate her. Let them see only the beautiful face and graceful movements. They would learn the truth soon enough, usually when it was far too late to do anything about it. Subscribe for more because this story isn't over. It's just beginning. Sophia Martinez came to Prague as a broke college dropout and became a queen. But queens have enemies. And some threats are coming from places she never expected. Trust me, what happens next will destroy everything you think you know about power, loyalty, and how far someone will go to protect the life they've built from nothing. The real war is just getting started.